We are seeing the bastardization of the McGregor effect. We are seeing men who grew up watching Conor McGregor 7-8 years ago at these press conferences, cut up his opponents with his words, run circles around everyone in a unique, entertaining, at times charming way. Did he cross the line later on? Yes. But prime Conor McGregor in 14, 15, 16, that was magic. That was theater.
The esteemed Ariel Helwani breaks down the most hated man in the UFC who has limited attractiveness in his return, Colby Covington.
And now 7-8 years later, 9 years later, we're starting to see people who grew up watching that stuff and say like, okay, now's my chance. But the problem is they are unimaginative, they are lazy, they are not creative, they don't have the gift of gab. And so they are resorting to talking about things like family, like abuse, stuff that has no place in the fight game, in the promotion game, and all that stuff.
Of course, what he's referring to is this.
No, I'm bringing you to 7th layer. Hell, we'll say what's up to your dad while we're there.
Oh!
Because the UFC does nothing about this, because there are no repercussions, because they sit up there and say like, hey, in 24 hours you get locked, or hey, we saw the sales go up 25% after that line was uttered at the press conference, or hey, it was on me, I sat them together, my bad. Who could have ever thought something was going to happen? And then they'll be like, sit right there, we've got the footage for you, and every social media channel is going to play this.
Helwani breaks down the BS from Sean Strickland going after Dricus du Plessis at UFC 296 with UFC President Dana White's commentary afterwards.
So what kind of an sits Strickland next to du Plessis? This. That's who. Yeah.
I mean, you actually manually did the seating assignment for that?
I do every seating assignment every week. Yeah.
All right, so that's on you.
Yep.
Do we know?
Stupid is that? I mean, seriously.
And so what you are seeing is copycat crimes being committed where nothing is happening. Nothing happened to Conor in 2018. Nothing is going to happen to Sean Strickland and DDP. Nothing is going to happen to any of these guys because it's all fair game. But it's not being done the right way. I mean, I'm watching these press conferences and I'll be honest with you, like I think it's embarrassing. I don't know how anyone could like this. You sit there, be honest with yourselves. You're sitting there watching this stuff and they're talking about abuse and they're talking about deceased family members and all. This isn't unique. This isn't creative. This isn't imaginative. You like this? This makes you want to watch these fights. This makes you want to root these guys on. This is craziness. This is not why we love this sport.
As always, he's on point. Some will call him soft. Others will leave tweets labeling him soy or something of the like. Others say, you know what, it's a part of the business, but it doesn't have to be, does it?
Are there kooky characters? Are there unique guys? Sure. But I don't want to hear dudes go tit for tat on abuse. No thanks. Not for me. But nothing happens. And so that's why you need the guys like Leon. That's why you need the guys like Bogue. That's why you need the guys who are going to rise above and not go there and represent this sport in the best way possible on the grandest stage. That's why this was a victory for everyone who truly loves MMA.
He would then break down Colby Covington's rise and where we are today.
The irony of the Colby Covington experience is that prior to figuring out that this character works, he was just a guy on the roster. So fair play. The irony is, as he's acted a fool in all these title fights, he never truly got to benefit from going into the gutter because he never had pay-per-view points. He was always the challenger. So even on Saturday, you could talk about, oh, he drove the pay-per-view sales up to 25%. Well, guess what? He didn't benefit off of that. What did you accomplish by bringing up his dad? Did you really? Well, I guess you accomplished more money in Leon Edwards' pocket and the UFC's pocket.
Objectively speaking, because we are fair, Colby Covington is a competent mixed martial artist. Did he talk himself into getting title shots? Of course. Has he underperformed in those title shots? Of course, yes. But what Helwani hits on here is very important in the grand scheme of things.
It felt like he was more concerned about cozying up to Donald Trump. And as he said multiple times, he got the most powerful man in the world to come to his event. I mean, I guess missing the fact that Trump was in New York and he was in Miami as well. Gets up to the cage and gives him the old fist bump. And the first things that come out of his mouth are Trump this, Trump that, border this, border that. Felt like he was more concerned about glazing Donald Trump than he was about the loss, about the performance, about Leon Edwards. What in the world? Talk about losing your perspective.
Personally, I see it like this. And we're going to talk about this in another clip on this show, on how the most ridiculous things, unfortunately, will get play, and it involves Shohei Ohtani. What I would say is this. One thing that really puzzles me is why, and maybe we should sit down with like a sports psychologist on this subject. One thing that really gets to me is the Stephen A. Skip Bayless effect on sports. And we even see it with athletes, where the most ridiculous takes, the most ridiculous commentary will be, I know newspapers are extinct at this point practically, but front page news per se. And yet, Helwani shines a light on Leon Edwards. And we did so as well, because his story is important. Yet, what is the trending topic? It is Colby Covington mentions wrongfully, in an evil way, Leon Edwards' deceased dad. I just think as a media apparatus, we're failing. No disrespect, but there are some within these leagues who are given access, who have creative control, and who are put at the forefront to interview fighters when they're not journalists. They're not asking questions that we want to know the answers to. They're doing like fun content. And like, that's great. I think that's important to some people. But when it comes down to it, we want answers. That's also part of the entertainment. And more importantly, it shows how media has decayed and how instead of being watchdogs, we are lapdogs for whatever athlete will lend their platform to that person. It is a damn shame, but it is indicative of where we are right now. To get back to Colby Covington and Ariel Helwani, we have covered Helwani stuff previously. He called out Stephen A. for going soft when Dana White committed an act of domestic violence on his wife in Cabo San Lucas. I believe that was Squid Row in Cabo. Been there before. He has called out how guys like Colby Covington will make a name for themselves in the worst way possible. He doesn't agree with everything Bilal Muhammad does, but says he is deserving of a title shot. If there's anybody who has shown to be incredibly fair, even through the trials and tribulations of navigating his way through uncharted territory, going up against the behemoth that is Dana White, it's Ariel Helwani, along with some others. For him to say this about Colby is not only pure, but it's true. It is completely true. And, you know, him focusing on Donald Trump more than anything else, that opens up the larger discussion, which is this. Colby Covington is now 0-3 in title fights. As I said previously, he has underperformed. Yet he has shown how gullible people are, that they will latch on to this character. Whether they believe it's a character, and unfortunately many do not see through it, because they are drinking the same juice. What Colby Covington is doing is plotting his next chapter, and that is conservative politics. And even though everything he says is a lie, and he is an admitted sellout, where he said on Candace Owens' show that he was not going to make it in the UFC. And then when he was in Brazil, he called Brazilians a bunch of animals and the country a dump. And immediately it starts getting play, and immediately it shows what the UFC is all about. They continue giving him run. He goes and talks his way into getting in with the Trump family. Who knows how long that lasts, because as we know, they don't attach themselves to losers. And yet now, what do we see? Ariel's right. Post-fight, oh, I thought I won. Of course you did, because you could never admit defeat, ever, ever. I'm not going to make excuses, but the judges just hate me because I appreciate and love Donald Trump. No, they don't. No, they don't. You're lying to yourself. And he knows he's lying to himself because he has to play up this character, because he has now shown to his inner self that this is all he's got. This is it. This is it. Father Time catches up to everybody. No matter the athlete, no matter the sport, always. Some go into business. Some go into media. Some go into coaching. Colby Covington is going down the right-wing politics path because he has laid the groundwork to do so. And it's a shame that so many people are falling for it.